Are people going to continue to watch me if I'm just throwing out crap for hot takes? Like, I better be good at something else then. I better be funny and hilarious or something.
And without your credibility, what do you have? Because as Pete says, you're not that funny, so...
Oh, yeah, baby. What's up? It's Chris Sims. It's Chris Sims Unbuttoned. It's not funny Chris Sims time here. It's Ahmed Fareed. What up? It's the reaction podcast to the quarterback rankings. We're going to hit on that. All things other than that, I don't really know where we're going to go. We got a few other cool exercises. My man's here. He's in his blue pants today.
I am.
All right.
I haven't worn these in a long time.
No, it's been a while. They are blue. They're bluer than your red or red.
My
right?
bluest, my most colorful pants perhaps are my blue.
So, yeah, but we'll have some things to unpack. And I know Pete, he organized a cool little activity about building a quarterback and the perfect quarterback with these draft guys and some of their attributes. So that actually should be pretty cool, too, because I didn't like know we were doing it last night. You're going to get it a little bit like just right now, raw off the top of my head, right? That way, which is sometimes is really the best way to do it because then I don't overthink things.
Yeah, we're going to go over some of the comments from a reaction to your quarterback rankings. Okay. And you know who was the most upset by your quarterback rankings?
Wow,
there's always someone mad,
I did not look at anything. Right?
So,
I really didn't because I try to stay away totally on these type of days, right?
And, and actually, I don't know this to be true, but I'm pretty sure this is true. You know who's most upset by your rankings?
Who?
Are the aggregators who, in years past, have been able to, Chris Sims did this with his quarterback rankings, and it's gone viral.
Yeah, right.
Because, with no disrespect to your top five, having Kyle McCord a little bit higher than most other people doesn't generate the headlines and buzz,
the clicks and all that
years past lists have done.
Yeah, and I knew that, and I was aware of that. And again, too, that's where I've argued, too. There's been a lot of years where I've gone chalk. The Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray years, I went chalk there. I mean, hey, when it is what it is, there's not much. I'm not going to try to be cute. It is funny, though, when I told a few people beforehand, right, about my rankings or whatever, I knew too those reactions that Kyle McCord was the one that when I would tell people, they go, oh, okay, Kyle McCord at 4. Wow, okay, that's up there.
Yeah,
right, and even Quinn Ewers at 5. I think people were a little surprised about probably, but no shakeup at the top. And when there's a clear number one like there is this year, and it's not even debatable, and you're not even really, I mean, there's no conversation around it, right?
Correct.
It's really odd. It's an odd year where it's like no debate. There was debate last year about Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels, and especially in the NFL circles, right, where I would say, like, of the 32 teams, and not that I talked to all 32, but let's just say I talked to 20 of them, I felt like it was pretty split down the middle between teams and Caleb and Jaden Daniels, right? And this year, again, I haven't talked to everybody yet, and like so many of my friends that are coaches, and I've told you this and all that, they're not into the draft quite yet. They're just starting that process. Yeah. I haven't had conversations here, but I get the feel from the combine and everything else and what we're hearing and what we've talked about that, Cam Ward will be the number one quarterback on all 32 boards, and I don't even think that'll be close, right?
Well, this is good because the homies have some more questions to dive into the things that you talked about with them, so we'll get into that.
Yep.
Pete's big idea was crafting the perfect quarterback with all the different parts with C-3PO. Great name.
C-3PO.
Dang it.
I mean, how do you mess that up? I mean, damn.
I was just setting it up.
C-3PO.
C-3PO's the robot.
Right. Do you know what movie that is? Do you know what that is?
Our family has recently got into Star Wars. We watched The Mandalorian. Then we watched the original 3 Star Wars.
You guys are watching movies over there now?
We're watching movies.
What's going on with you people?
So that's why I had C-3PO on the brain. But you're right. C-3PO is the name. So we'll piece that together with 8 different attributes and create the perfect draft quarterback this year. But let's start with this.
Yeah.
Some NFL news. Because this is an NFL podcast.
Well, let's start with this first off. There's more news than the NFL news.
Oh, wait. Okay.
One of my favorite subjects. You know what it is.
What is that?
The JFK files.
Oh, my God.
That's what I'm waiting for somebody to decipher this stuff a little bit more for me and know what's going on.
What a week for you. What a week for you. You do your top 5 quarterback rankings and Trump releases the JFK files.
There's nothing good to be about this. Like I was telling my wife over the weekend, like I was excited for it. And she's like, well, what do you expect for like to be released that's going to be cool? And I went, really nothing.
Yeah.
I said, if you know anything about the subject and if you researched it, the people who did the report are part of the fix. They were his biggest enemies. The people who tried to figure out the Warren Commission, if you went through the people that are on that commission, they are all the people that JFK hated the most. And they hated him. And there was issues there. So that's part of the problem, right? Like, part of the report is the picture of JFK's head, which is perfectly intact with a small little hole in it, where we know that's not true. Everybody we've had doctors at the hospital, they go, no, his head was falling off in one part. Okay. We saw his wife crawl on the back of the car to pick up his head.
Yes.
So there wasn't like, oh, just one little hole, right? So again, that's just to tell you, there's really, I don't think, anything that comes out that's any different from what we saw. The only thing that's been good so far is that there was reports, again, that Lee Harvey Oswald was not a good shot, right? That's the most intriguing thing. And again, that 3 shots and all that, I think, has only been replicated like once in the history of mankind now, or maybe twice. It's like it would be the greatest shooting of all time. So that's the only thing to glean so far. Maybe I'll have more updates for you on the Monday pod.
So you think there's still a cover-up happening?
Of course
even with
I do.
all the release of all the files. These are the files
because
that
I think
they
the
were
whole
okay.
thing was such a cover-up from the start that everything's a cover-up. So, yeah, like just releasing it, and I appreciate Trump doing that. I really do. I'm definitely for it, all about it. But, yeah, I don't think there's going to be anything that we're going to look at and go, oh, you know what, here it is. The CIA in their report actually wrote, we did it. We actually killed JFK.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's been redacted. Oh no, that line that says we actually set up the whole killing thing. Oh, now it's out there. No, that's not going to happen. So we're not going to get anything.
I did
out
see
of
there
this.
was some speculation that Oswald might be a KGB agent.
Well, that's very well known. He was very high up in the CIA, highest clearances.
But apparently the documents dispute that.
No,
and don't
but he was over there in
confirm it.
Russia. The oddest thing about all of it is, he went over there, he defected. It was in the middle of our most tense times ever with Russia and the United States.
Yeah.
The United States let him back into America instantly, right? So that just tells you that he's in part of the United States, CIA, government, whatever else.
The coolest thing of doing this podcast right in the middle of NBC
Everybody's
Sports.
walking by, they're like, are they talking about JFK and the files?
Yeah, and they're not that surprised.
But if they
They're
know
not that
me, they're like,
surprised.
damn, I've heard Sims yell about this before, so this is normal.
All right, well, give it a chance, though. Give it a
Okay,
couple
I'm
more
gonna give it
days
a couple
because
more
there's
days.
a lot of stuff out there.
There's like 80,000 pages. And don't worry, you might not really like it, but we might be starting Monday's pod with this. So just you guys have to deal with it. If you like me, you're going to have to deal with this a little bit.
I think there's so much information. We just do 30 seconds every pod. Hey, is there anything new that you want to talk about with JFK if we figured anything else out here?
All right,
So-
that was my news. All right, we'll talk about football now.
So we got the NFL news. Let's do that. And Pete, we'll save the YouTube comments about the quarterback list for when we get into C-3PO.
Yeah,
so
let's do that. That
let's
sounds
do
good.
that here
Sounds
in a
good.
second. So
Right.
let's do some NFL news here because we do have a little bit out there. The quarterbacks still have to find some landing spots, which is interesting. Aaron Rodgers, who probably is as into JFK as you are, I would assume, right? And
I would
feel
think
like he's said
that's
that.
in his lane.
Right in his lane.
Right.
There's some news on him, perhaps. A report out there, the Vikings have rejected trade calls on J.J. McCarthy, so they want to keep J.J. McCarthy. They want him to be their quarterback, and of course, why wouldn't they? They liked him a year ago. He got hurt. They still like him now. But the other part of the report, not pursuing Aaron Rodgers at the moment.
Yeah.
What do you make of the whole
Well,
thing?
it's big news. That is big news. And again, I'm one that sat here and I was like, man, it makes a lot of sense. I know Aaron Rodgers would want to go there.
Sure.
And there's a lot of ways in my mind I sat there and went, I put myself in Minnesota's shoes, and you've heard me say this a little bit. They're in the Super Bowl window. I mean, it was a 14-3 football team last year. They've gotten better already. And then we got the draft to come off of that. And they got some young guys that I think will be better in year 2, like a Dallas Turner and stuff like that as well.
And you can still like J.J. McCarthy and want a safety net in Aaron Rodgers.
Exactly, a safety net. Or like you could still like J.J. McCarthy and go, man, it just stinks the way things kind of shook out. Yeah, he got a little unlucky, and like we're ready right now, and I don't think he's ready to bring us where we might be ready to go, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I thought the Aaron Rodgers thing did make sense, certainly. And I got in a big fight with Florio on the show today on PFT because he was going, Rodgers got to pick a team, and how dare he do this and all that.
Mike's over it. He's over it.
Well,
He's sick
it's
of
the
story.
Steelers and the Vikings, which are his 2 favorite teams, so it's hitting home. It's like personal to him.
Yeah.
So I, of course, was like, first off, it's not they're desperate. So he's got all the power, right? I mean, there's a reason the Steelers they're not bringing back Russell Wilson. Justin Fields went. They've messed up this situation. They're in a tough spot. So, okay, yeah, you got to wait for him and do that. And you guys, the Steelers haven't made themselves the most appealing place to go to over the last few years, too. So there's that. Then, of course, there's the balancing out of Minnesota and what might happen there and all that. So my point to Florio was that, these are two teams that have kind of messed up the situation. They might have read the whole situation the wrong way here. Mm-hmm. And, now they're in a tough spot. And Aaron Rodgers realizes that. Let alone, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes and why Aaron Rodgers is dragging his feet. Did they make low ball offers to him and contracts? And maybe he's like, whoa, I want to come play, but damn, that's like not even close to respectable for what I think I should be getting or whatever. We don't know some of that stuff. Mm-hmm. So I just pushed back against that. But either way, the Vikings come out and say that they're going with J.J. McCarthy. And one of my things was, and I said this today on the show with Florio, the Vikings are the team that are holding this up. The Vikings are the ones that need to make a decision. They either go, hey, Aaron Rodgers, we want you, or go, hey, J.J. McCarthy is the quarterback. He's our guy. End of the conversation. And that's what I said on the show today. I said, why is everybody in Minnesota, why are they getting off the hook here with nobody really asking about what's the deal with J.J. McCarthy? And I had heard from people that I trust that there was some concern about his weight and some other things off the field. So I was like, maybe there's something here. Maybe there's something more tangible than I even know about behind the scenes. I started to wonder that type of stuff. But I did go kind of hard today and go, they need to answer that question. They're the ones that's holding up this whole process. Literally, we go to commercial break. We do a segment. We're going to another commercial break. And the Minnesota Vikings release a statement. Right? And Florio and I have had inklings before that they have some guys that watch PFT up there. And they released a statement through Tom Pelissero basically saying the things that I had just questioned on the show. Like, they need to stand by J.J. McCarthy and tell me what the hell's going on there because they haven't answered those questions yet. And they're there. Tom Pelissero comes out with a tweet and basically says that the Vikings are out of the Aaron Rodgers pursuit and J.J. McCarthy is their guy. So that clears up a lot of things. And I would think we hear Rodgers to Pittsburgh sometime in the next few days off of that.
Now, it is interesting wording, though, because it's not pursuing Aaron Rodgers
at this time.
At the moment.
I know, which is a little bit of leaves the door cracked open.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that means. If they want to maybe just go, hey, we'd like another few weeks to evaluate J.J. McCarthy and see where this is going and see how we feel. We'd like to go into an OTA or two to see how it is, and then we'll call you or not call you to let you know, right? I don't know. But, yeah, I think we all thought that meant the door was slammed shut. But then when I read the quote, too, it just says at the moment or for now, that doesn't mean it's totally closed in my book quite yet.
I mean, and it would make sense for the Vikings to be in contact with Aaron's agent.
Totally.
And be like, when do you need to know? When's the drop-dead deadline when you need to make a decision? Be like, we're in no rush. So figure it out.
There's all of that. And then there's the talks of, we know they like Daniel Jones. And there was talks of they were going to seriously re-sign Darnold, Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
So all those things make you to lead to, wait, is there something that we don't trust or know about J.J. McCarthy? Let alone, like I told you, I'd heard a few things that there was some concern and this and that.
Sure.
And especially about his weight. That was definitely a thing at the end of the year, that he was really skinny, like concerningly skinny. Right? So I started to go, man, maybe there's more to this situation that I don't know. And there's more concern around this than altogether. But, they calm those fears a little bit here today, and we'll see where that goes.
So what do you think? Look into your crystal ball right here as we progress. How much longer do you think this is going to go on with Aaron, and how do you think it all comes out?
I think a lot is going to be the message of what they said to him, where Rodgers is really smart. I don't think he's going to be like totally intimidated by like, oh, no, I'm not there in March and I'm not learning the playbook, right? Mm-hmm. Or I'm not doing that. I don't think that's going to be something that is going to like concern him. Now, you want to get there because you want to start to build something with your team and start to lay a foundation and do all that. But let's just say the Vikings just said, hey, we'd like to kind of take a little time here. Well, we like JJ. There's some things we're not sure about, but we'd like to see him practice or whatever else and see where he's going. And listen, if we're not happy with it, we might call you back. I don't know. Does that type of thing get him to sit back and lay in the weeds and go, you know what, I'll just wait till May.
I mean, it would
so
get me
what?
to sit back and
right?
wait. Yeah.
Right? Or does he just go, okay, I can't take my chance there. I might lose my chance with the Steelers if I sit here and drag my feet forever, because they might finally just go, okay, we got Mason Rudolph, and maybe we'll just get somebody else and we'll move on with life.
But what are they really going to do?
What are they really
going to
do? Right, because they don't want to bring Russell Wilson back. I mean, don't they? They're telling us that.
Yeah.
They blew it on Justin Fields. I don't think Jameis Winston is their cup of tea. I don't know. But, yeah, after that, it's that Jameis Winston, Joe Flacco. That's the names we're getting into. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's where you hear Cam Hayward on his podcast yesterday, hey, make a decision and do all that. And I hear you, but it's a big decision. I can respect it's a life-changing decision. Not only do you have to move, you're going to be tied to this team for the rest of your football life. It's going to be on your resume. How it goes, how it plays out is going to be on your resume, right? It's going to be on your gravestone.
Yeah.
And he's already got a bad one there with the Jets, so he's like, I don't want to follow it up with another bad one, right?
This writes the last chapter of your career.
Exactly. So that's not an easy decision to make.
Yeah.
And then, again, that's where I go back into going, yeah, I know we all want him to make a decision. I get that. I'd like him to hurry up, too. But I'm not going to sit here and blame him for the Steelers messing up the whole quarterback situation. That's not what I'm going to do. And that's where we got to be fair to Rodgers. But I think we'll hear something in the next 5 days. I do.
Ooh, 5 days.
I do. I think he's going to make a move. I think he'll finally – my heart of heart says yes. He'll say yes to the Steelers now.
Because he'll be mad. Everyone will be paying attention to March Madness and be like, come on, guys. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers is still out there, unsigned with an NFL team. Time to get back in.
Has it been 3 days without talking about me? I need to get back in there.
Along these same lines, kind of, we got a couple questions about the Giants because they hold a lot with where they are in the draft.
Yes, they do.
Number 3 overall pick. If there was a draft lottery, who knows? Maybe they would have gotten the number 1 overall pick and wouldn't have to worry about winning and losing games at the end of the year. But that's for another discussion.
Oh, well, I've only heard that 9 million times over the last few weeks.
Your team a little bit.
Gosh, good thing we beat the Colts in week 6, 17 or whatever. That's all I hear.
Wouldn't have to worry about trading up to number 1 to get Cam Ward, but now that is what they probably would have to do. Nath Jacobson says if Cam Ward is gone and the Giants can't trade up and they don't sign Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers, what should they do at number 3? So that's interesting.
Yeah. I would they're not a team that needs a pass rusher, right? I haven't seen the offensive lineman yet, so I can't gauge if anybody there is worthy of that pick, right? But I do think that the pass rusher is a legitimate thing there at number 3. That would be the option that I think would be the most prevalent one on the table, but the Giants don't really need a pass rusher. This is to where the Giants, if it's not pass rusher, I don't feel like it's going to be a Travis Hunter or something like that on the heels of we just drafted Malik Neighbors and now we're going to get Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
Right? So to me, O-lineman, if there's somebody worthy there, which I don't know. The pass rusher I had a hard time believing just because, hey, it's Brian Burns. There's Kayvon Thibodeau, right? Burns is really damn good. Thibodeau's good. The D-line is not one of the weaknesses of our team. It's the strength. So I don't know if we need more in that area, right? We're plentiful there. That's where I get into the trade down aspect. Trade down. See where it goes from there. And then maybe, is there O-linemen there? Are there people in the secondary where we're still needy in that department to a degree, even though we did some good jobs in free agency? But, yeah, they're in a tough spot. Trade down and maybe take the quarterback there.
Yeah.
Right? Can they read the draft the right way and go, hey, we think we could trade down to number 9 or whatever, and we can get another first-round pick and a few other picks, and then maybe still get Shedeur Sanders there or later on in the draft. I think that's worthy of it. But, yeah, they're in a spot right now, as we've talked about, as far as the quarterback at number 3.
And they hold the keys to a lot of how this first round is going to play out for a lot of teams. And so while Pete is trying to make this his own personal Giants podcast, I think it's relevant here because Nuevo Huevo says, would you as a Giants fan rather have them take a swing on a Milroe or a Dart in round 2? So say you can't trade down, get Shedeur in the 20s or whatever, and he's gone by the time you're picking at the top of round 2. Would you take your quarterback there?
I don't think Milroe's going to go as high as early round 2. Yeah. It's a little too raw, right? It's just a little too. The last few games of the year are going to scare everybody off from that. Milroe, though, I do think has a chance to be a second-round pick. Because I look at him, and you've heard me say this, it's very Jalen Hurts-ish. Except I think his high end is better than Jalen Hurts. But his low end is lower than Jalen Hurts, if that can make sense, right? Jalen Hurts, I always questioned, I don't know if he could ever be an elite thrower of the football, right? But I was like, he's not going to be a disaster, right? That's not going to happen. Milroe, there's some of that every now and then where you're like, I'm not sure, right? So And with Dart, as we discussed the other day, Dart's ready. He can play. He's more of the safe bet that way. Milroe, I think, is a guy that you look and you draft and you go, we're hoping he can be the guy 2 years from now. Maybe it's on year 3 he's the guy, right? It's kind of that. Milroe's high end, like I said, is eye-popping. It's superstar-ish, but you can go a full game and not see it. And that's going to concern people.
Sure.
So I don't think like top of the second round is where I see Milroe. The Steelers just brought him in for a visit yesterday.
Okay.
But the Steelers are kind of in the middle of the second, later in the second. I believe they're going to be like pick 53 or something like that in the second. Maybe it's pick 52, somewhere in there, right? That's where I could kind of see people starting to think about Jalen Milroe. So I guess what I'm saying here, for the Giants and their situation,
You don't like Dart at the top of round 2 either.
I don't mind Dart at round 2. That's kind of where I see him.
Okay.
Right? That's kind of what I said the other day. Jimmy Garoppolo, top of round 2, those type of guys. I kind of see him in that area. And I would have no problem with that.
Okay.
I guess that if my ass was on the line, like Dayball and Joe Shane, I would go Dart in the top of the second rather than taking the flyer on Milroe.
Okay, well, here's the ultimate swing,
Yeah.
though. Corey Joskowitz says,
Okay.
John Merritt comes to you, asks what to do. Trading up isn't happening to get Cam at number 1. What's your move? Now, I actually want to reverse that. I want to say, do you think you can get Cam? And what would you pay
I think it's going to
at
be
number 1?
But one, we
How
know.
much would you give the Titans to get Cam Ward at number 1?
What you know is see, this is where it's going to be an expensive one because it's the quarterback is going to be so much higher ranked than the other guys. There's going to be more of a value on that, right? So that's where, and you're only going up 2 spots, so you go, wait, but it is the quarterback, and then there's going to be the conversation of, yeah, we need a quarterback too, and it's nowhere near the grade that we have on this guy, and that's going to make it even more of a thing to jump up those spots.
You hope the Titans love Jaxson Dart or Shedeur Sanders.
Exactly
or
right,
whomever.
and love the idea of like, let's build the rest of our football team and
Yes.
let's just go with them. That's what you hope for. It's going to take definitely 2 first-round picks to move up.
1 this year, 1 next year.
Right, and then I would think maybe even a second round, like this year or next year, let alone with another middle round pick, something of something along those lines.
But if you're Brian Dayball and you're Joe Shane, you
I would think about it, and I'm not even sure. It might take like if we're just talking about swapping picks this year. I'm talking about it might take 2 other first round picks with that
26,
right?
27.
Yeah, right. Realistically, 3. Some people say that's 3 picks or whatever, but you're swapping this year. But yeah, with the quality of that quarterback and as good as I think he is. And again, the drop off there, that's where I think the price tag will go up a lot. I do. You know, maybe 3 first round picks is a little much. Maybe it is 2 with another 2 second rounders and something else to go on top of that.
But we saw, what would you give up now for Jaden Daniels? Give up 5 first round picks for a guy. You know what I mean? It's just
I hear
for a guy
you.
that changes your
Changes
the
your
trajectory
football
of your
team.
football team immediately. Like
I get you. There's a lot of things you got to balance there, and again, that's about the rest of your football team. You got to look at, and then within that football team, what you're also doing when you trade away picks, right, is you're taking away 5 or 6 guys that are on your team with rookie salary caps, and now you have to replace with a veteron that's more expensive.
True, you can get them later though. I mean, look at the Rams. They didn't have really that first round pick for a while.
You're right. You're right. But it just saying those are the concerns teams have about that type of stuff at time.
Yeah.
But I would think about it. But as we know, and as I've heard, and from everybody in football, there's been nothing like that. The Titans haven't entertained anybody. I haven't heard any inkling from any friend or person or insider or coach or front office guy that has led me to believe that the Titans were like, we'll get back to you. We're not sure, right? It's been pretty slam dunk so far from what we've seen.
I mean, it was day 1 on the job or so, right around there for the new GM, who did talk about their preference would be in an ideal world, in a vacuum, right, to get more picks, build this team.
Exactly.
You know, and then you see the quarterback and you see Cam Ward and you see how much better he is than the
That's
other quarterbacks.
what happens. And then you hear your head coach or somebody else who now is going, wait, I'm evaluating him too, and they're telling the GM, shit, he's awesome. Like, damn, and they're like, well, so you think he's that good, right? Like, I thought he was good, but like you're the quarterback guy, and you think he's awesome too, like that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, shit. All right, wait, forget on line 2 and line 3. Hang up. We're not answering any calls for that, and things change. And again, that's where, again, I think as we see every year, this is the time of the year where things will start to change. You'll start to see all the mock draft people and the top 50 players in the draft. Things are going to start to change drastically because some of the bigger, better evaluators are going to get involved here, right? And word's going to get out that, like, hey, blah, 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 offensive coordinator and blah, 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 head coach, who's also kind of an offensive coordinator, they think this receiver's way better than that receiver. Hey, this guy's climbing my board. He's moved up. I've rewatched the film, and now I saw something that I didn't see the first 500 times I watched him. And now he's much better. And I just didn't realize it, so I moved him up from 75 to 25. Oh, wow, shit.
And also that guy I talked to, Sean McVay, really thinks he's good. So that was part of it, too.
Exactly right.
And also part of this, too, is all these teams obviously know who's coming out next year in the draft and the year after that and where you might be. And the Titans they hope they're not picking number 1 again. But even if you are, it's like it's Arch Manning, it's Drew Aller, the quarterback from Penn State, right now on the radar.
Right.
And they're fine. We don't really know.
Yeah, and you don't know
yet.
Arch Manning's going to come out. Arch Manning, he hasn't played a year yet. Let's let him play a year yet before we know he's going to come out.
So
I know it's looking like he's that kind of guy.
So Cam Ward might be the best quarterback coming out in the next 2 years.
It might be. Exactly right. And I don't have the answers to that. But I know even in the last year, and you're exactly right. These teams usually know. And remember last year, teams were going, this is a great class. Next year's not so great.
Yeah.
Right? They knew. So they usually have a very good feel about this stuff.
All right, that's fascinating stuff. That'll continue to develop. We will talk about it for sure. Now it is time to make our robot quarterback, who Pete has done a great job, expertly named C-3PO.
It's one of Pete's great, really gifts in life.
Yeah.
Like really catchy headlines.
Yes.
When I have my little segment on Football Night in America, he's usually the guy that comes up with a little catchy whatever, right? So he's great at that, and he gets great joy out of it. C-3PO, when he came out with that today, there was joy on his face, right? Like he was like, I did my job today. I nailed it. C-3PO.
And we knew he nailed it as well. So before we get to that, let's get to the comments from the homies here on the podcast from yesterday or from 2 days ago, from Monday, when you released your most anticipated to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Pod of the year, and that was John. He said that always the most anticipated pod of the year. Power Nab says the world famous Chris Sims quarterback ranking. Soon the NFL would televise this too. They televise most anything.
I wish they would. I'd like that. I'd be down for that. You and me running the live free agency show and draft ranking show for the NFL.
NFL.com.
Yeah.
Nordo says, I'm so stoked for Sims rankings. I got Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. in my fantasy league or draft dynasty league, thanks to your input, sir. Well done.
No problem. Thank you at Nordo FMN. Thank you, man.
I love the pod. Watch every year. Chris is someone I trust evaluating a quarterback for my franchise. Highest praise. They trust their franchise with you. And then Matta said this. Man, the guy on the left got old quick. What's up with that?
Yes.
I finally make into the comments, and it's about how old I've become over the years.
Well, probably been looking at young, good-looking Connor Rodgers, and then you came in with your salty gray hair.
Why did they think I'm the same person?
They just went, damn, this guy's old. Who the hell is this guy?
Well, Puma gets got it right. Being a Lions fan, we'll do that to a guy.
Good
Maybe
response.
That's right. Maybe they didn't know that Connor and I were two different people, and they were like, man, last Wednesday, the guy looked actually pretty good and muscle-bound and young.
Right.
And now, 3 days later, he looks old as heck.
He's drinking energy drinks, and he's all messed up. What's going on here?
That's possible. Oh, and we found out.
There it is.
Lamb and Tuna Fish, a reference to Rob Schneider in Big Daddy.
Wow. So I'm trying to think of I liked Big Daddy. That was a good movie.
I wouldn't know.
I cannot remember, but...
It's the court scene.
Oh,
apparently.
And Rob Schneider's I don't know what nationality he's supposed to be. He's a delivery guy who's got kind of an accent or whatever else. But
and Lamb and Tuna Fish was a good thing.
I guess
movie?
From the country he was portraying, he was from. That was a good thing. Right? Not here in the Northeast or in America. I don't think anybody's trying to get that.
Well, thank you, as always, to the homies for those comments, except the ones that say I'm old. They've criticized your hairline and my oldness here on the last few times.
I like it. I like those kind of comments. Keep bringing them in.
Keep it real. Yeah. All right, time to construct our quarterback.
All right.
So Pete has thrown together 8 attributes here.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do we have a picture of it, too, Kristen? You're back there?
There he is.
There's C-3PO,
C-3PO.
ready to be built. So here are the 6. We got arm, touch accuracy, mechanics, throwing on the move, best running ability, decision-making, so there's the brain, most ideal size, so that's an overall thing, most impressive character leadership. Oh, I like this.
Yeah.
So you
I
take
think
a little bit of everyone.
Pete asked me before, he goes, is there anything else we're missing, right, with these? If there was one more, maybe toughness in the pocket, pocket awareness, whatever, something like that. Maybe we're missing.
Let's make that
the only thing.
Yeah, that's tough.
Right?
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Can we
I don't
add
know where
it? Can
you
we
do
add-
it. And I'm not saying we have to. I'm just throwing out some food for thought here as far as where my brain goes.
Give him a 9. Put it right at the heart, the chest, right? Because how much heart you got to stand in there.
You gotta have some. You gotta have a heart, right? And a chest of armor to take those shots for sure. I think that's a good spot.
So we'll add that. We got 9.
Yeah.
C-3PO's got 9 characteristics. And these are all the quarterbacks you've evaluated. Again, to refresh, in case anyone missed the Monday pod, go back and watch the Monday pod. But how many quarterbacks did you look at overall, in totality?
I think it was 20, right?
20.
I think it was 20 on
so
the
you
dot.
can use any of those 20. Even some guy late or whatever.
Well, the hardest thing about some of these things, and especially in a year like this, right, is that we have a guy that is really elite in a lot of these areas.
So 1 through 9,
where
Cam
I'm
Ward.
afraid that, yes, and I'm going to try to be a little more judicious here with everybody. I am. But yes, Cam Ward is very special in a lot of these areas. He definitely is, right? This is an exercise where if it was last year's draft, we would have had a lot of fun because you would have been like, damn, we're matching together these top 5 or 6 guys. We got them all over the place.
So, Pete, great idea. You should have done it a year ago. You messed up big time, as always. Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
if it's a lot of Cam Ward, that's right.
fine.
Then it's Cam Ward, and I think it speaks to how good he is and how much better he is maybe than the rest of the group that we're used to seeing here this year.
All right, so let's get into the first one, and the first one's strongest arm.
Yeah,
we talked a little bit about this on Monday.
Right.
So where would you go here?
I mean, it is Cam Ward. Cam Ward. So this is where it's always interesting. If you made me like Jalen Milroe might be in that conversation,
okay,
right? But Jalen Milroe's ability to control the ball as he throws those type of footballs is not on the same level of Cam Ward,
and that's got to be part of it. So I was like, well, that's accuracy, but if you don't have a usable cannon, that's an issue.
That's where it's tough. Exactly right, but. There's a part of me there that I still think about like, damn, should I put Jalen Milroe? It's not that off target that it's just crazy, right? But no, I think I'm still going to go Cam Ward right there. Cam Ward, I think that was the most unexpected thing about his game that I wasn't aware of on TV, is that he could throw the ball when he needed to and just put that extra oomph on it, or those extra few miles per hour in a moment when need be. I don't know if I really realized he had that aspect in him quite to the extent that he does until I turned on the film. It was one of the most pleasant surprises, actually, of the film.
And we can give credit to Jalen Milroe as second. He would be second and maybe has a little bit stronger arm, but maybe not as usable as Cam Ward.
Exactly right. Exactly right. I think that's a very good way to say it. And then other guys that I don't know if there's any guys that are after that I would say that are in that class that I would even put them close to that. Kyle McCord maybe would be the other guy that I would say would be Kyle McCord and Shedeur, I think, are your next guys on the list where I'd go power throws. It's one of those two guys that are the best at doing that.
Touch accuracy. Who can thread the needle, who can layer the pass over the middle linebacker playing zone.
There's a few that come to mind. Let's flesh this out a little bit. Again, this is another thing where I would say Cam Ward is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Cam Ward's ability to drop balls. You saw me making fun of it the other day. I think I did it on the show. Backpedaling away from traffic and then just being like, boom, like little T-Rex arm, and the ball goes 25 yards and just drops down out of the sky.
That's a compliment.
That's
you
a
just
compliment.
Gave him a compliment.
Yeah, it's a compliment.
Okay.
So he is really good at that. But let me just throw some other guys, too, that are really phenomenal. Quinn Ewers' touch is real.
Okay.
His ability to drop a ball in a spot, throw it over a linebacker, layer, all of that. He's got a little bit of that gifted, like I've talked about with Cam Ward, can flick it, can do that type of stuff, right? Jaxson Dart's touch is not bad either. That's not. He's shown the ability to do that at a pretty high level, right? And that to me, again, Jaxson Dart's throws down the middle that we talked about, the intermediate 10 to 20-yard throws, there's a lot of them, right? But I'm not sure still if he throws the touch ball, he throws a little bit more of the banana, like it's a drive with a little bit, it's not the laser line drive. It's got a little pep on it, but it still can get up and down in a hurry, right? So, I'm sorry, but I'm still going Cam Ward here.
That's
all right?
fine.
That's
no need to apologize.
All right. I know. It's like, I don't know why I am apologizing, but I am right now.
This will just show how much you like Cam Ward and how much you think he's separated himself from the other players. All right. So what about cleanest mechanics? And this is right up your alley because you have identified quarterbacks in the past, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, things you don't like.
That have issues, right?
With the way they throw, and you're like, this is even Trevor Lawrence. Guys like him, red flags.
Definitely.
The way he throws,
issues there.
Can't repeat his delivery.
Right.
Then you have accuracy issues.
Right. Like, we talked about Jalen Milroe the other day, the front shoulder being too wide open, not getting any turn with your upper body. Then that makes it an all-arm throw, and that's why you see the ball go everywhere.
Now, to be clear, there's not one way to throw a football,
no,
right?
There's not one way to throw a football.
But you need the biomechanics to be hitting in a proper way.
In a proper way. There's not one way to throw a football, but in general, most great throwers have, there's three, four, five things that I'd say. They all do these things. Their arm, it might come out at a different angle or whatever else, but the way they use their body is similar, right?
So what would that include?
Well, that would include the ability to turn opposites and turn your shoulder to the target, maybe past the target, okay? Here's the screen, right? At times I might tell my son, show me the name on the back of your jersey, right? Think about John Elway back in the day. He's like this, right? He's about to throw a laser down the field, right? Most good quarterbacks get in that position. You saw Brady used to do that. You see the quarterbacks doing their little hip things now, right? Before the game.
Yeah.
Rodgers gets in that position. If you think about Mahomes, you see him like this a lot, kind of laying on his back shoulder, doing that. That's one big thing. Having a good base underneath you with your feet and popping that back leg underneath you. Usually all great throwers are that. The arm angle thing I talked about,
90.
not letting this angle break, right? You might throw it sidearm, but the angle stays the same. It
Don't
doesn't
get it
matter.
too far away from your body.
Don't let it get away from your body. Don't let it get extended. Your arm shouldn't be extended. And there's always what do I want to say? An outlier.
Sure.
Like Kyler Murray's a great thrower. He lets his arm angle break a little bit. He's rare. And it's his baseball background, and he's an incredible athlete where he gets it done. But it's rare that somebody can do this to the utmost way he does it, right? But I think those are kind of the things that – and then the rotation as you throw.
I was going to say that.
Right.
That seems like no matter what sport you're talking about.
The rotation
golf,
is crucial.
Baseball, hitting,
good quarterbacks
throwing.
Again on this cut right here. If you're it's turning and throwing, the head usually doesn't really move much, right? Then you might see guys every now and then where they throw and they go forward, right? They go forward with the throw. Usually not a good thrower. Not getting the torque, not getting the turn, not coming around the body the way it should. You're not going to be able to throw the ball. So those are some of the key things that usually all good throwers have in common. And then just where the arm goes and actually spits the ball out. Okay, those are things that's Cam Ward throws it a little sidearm. I'm not going to go, hey, Cam, change the way you put your arm. I know you throw it awesome and perfect and you hit every bullseye you want, but I just want 4 degrees higher on your arm angle. No, that's where, the smart coaches know don't mess with that type of stuff.
Cool. Awesome.
Right.
So thank you for that.
No
that
problem.
Sets the table for the player you think this year has the cleanest, most repeatable mechanics.
The most repeatable mechanics, and I think
utilizing all his different body parts and muscles for strength. And
Ewers has pretty good mechanics other than he doesn't pop his legs. Jaxson Dart's mechanics are good other than when I told you he kind of reaches for more power or trying to throw the ball down the field. He loses his arm. So pure mechanics, okay? I'll give a little change up here. And I'm going to say this one more time. Shedeur's mechanics are good. His motion is a little different. That it's over the top, right?
Okay.
It's a little more over the top. He kind of gets the shoulder to the target and then just kind of goes over the top with the throwing motion instead of coming around. It's a little different, but you can't argue with the accuracy. I'm going to go with Kyle McCord here.
Ooh.
Kyle McCord's basic mechanics are flawless, right? Now, he's a little robotic in that he always does that, right? That was part of my breakdown. Not enough sidearm, some of that stuff, like backyard football type of throws, that needs to improve.
Yeah.
But I think when you just sit there, and if I had a coach like, hey, Johnny quarterback from the high school, right, here's a good way, just watch this guy and how he drops and puts his body in position and does all the things I kind of just talked about. McCord does it really well. He really does. Cam Ward does it really well, too. Let me just say, once again, he does it really well. But he might do it a different way. Like, he might do it one way one time, and then the next time, for no reason, he might just go, hey, I'm just going to hang on my back foot here this time and just fling it over there. Because he's that gifted, right? So he sometimes would not be exactly what you want to teach because he's next level. So McCord is where I'll go with the basic throwing mechanics.
And is it fair to say, too, that a guy like Cam Ward, because he does all those backyard things, it's like, wow, he does stuff that other quarterbacks can't. But those same things can also get you into trouble at times.
100.
Because you start to lose it, or you're doing it a little too much.
Exactly.
You've lost your mechanics a little bit here.
Yeah, you get too cute. You get too out of rhythm, whatever else. You try to, hey, I want to flip my feet and just sling this sidearm real quick. Oh, man, I missed it. Like, okay, yeah, but, I know you hit it a lot of the times and you're gifted. Right, but don't be a showman, just be a machine. Right, there is some of that, and I think he has the right blend of it too. He's not one that gets too crazy with it.
All right, so what about when you have to move? A clean pocket, maybe it's Kyle McCord who's got those most repeatable, best mechanics, but it's not always clean.
No,
you got rush.
You got to rush. You got to
guys
deal with that.
$20 million trying to sack you.
Ewers is very good on the run.
Best throwing on the move.
Right, Ewers is really good on the run. We talked about that. His arm, his flexibility in his arm is nice. Cam Ward, again, of course, is phenomenal. Jaxson Dart was better than I expected on the run, but it wasn't wow. Shedeur is damn good on the run, but I think the guy that takes the cake here is Jalen Milroe. This is where I will go with Jalen Milroe.
Okay.
Jalen Milroe makes a few throws during the year on the run that you go, wait, let me rewind that again. Did he really just throw that far and that hard on the run like that? So if I had to go with one guy there, that's the one I'd probably go with in that department there, because his ability to spin it left or right, whatever way he's running, and the amount of RPMs he can put on the ball all together is pretty damn impressive. So I'll go with Milroe in that department.
How does Jalen Milroe compare to Lamar Jackson when they were coming out as throwers of the football? Because both of those guys were discussed as runners, and maybe quarterback's not even their best position.
Yeah, right.
So,
this is where I fought against this stuff. This is because when I first saw it, I was like, this kid can really, for Lamar. When I first turned on the film, I was like, this kid can really throw it. Like, this is natural. This is like, he doesn't need to think about it. You could tell he gets his body in pretty good positions. There was a few things mechanically where we're like, okay, yeah, he's got to fix that. He used to let his feet get real close together and stuff like that. But you could see with the mechanics and the motion that it was second nature to him. So he was more trustworthy than Jalen Milroe, let alone I just think he was a more naturally gifted player. Lamar had a little bit more of like what we say with the Cam Ward. I think he was so gifted at times, he was like, wait, I'm going to throw over here. I'm going to throw over here. He's not open. Oh, wait, there's somebody open over there? Well, I'm not even going to flip my feet. I'll just throw a little sidearm, little rocket over there and just get it done, right? And he's special that way. He did not get the credit he deserved in that department because of his athletic ability, and he was from South Florida, and he wasn't the prototypical guy we see behind, the podium at the quarterback position. And I think people doubted that a little bit. And obviously he's proven everybody wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. And
just a little bit.
No, totally. Yeah. And Jalen Milroe compared to him is just,
it's Milroe's like RPMs on the football and stuff like that. He could go throw the ball like with Lamar. You wouldn't sit there and go, oh, Lamar's arm's so much stronger than him. Definitely not like that. Milroe's not as fast as Lamar was coming out. Lamar was special fast. Lamar is the only quarterback ever that will threaten Michael Vick as one of the fastest quarterbacks you ever saw. That was amazing. And Milroe is a phenomenal athlete. I would guess he runs 4.4 flat or something like that. But I think in their prime, like Lamar was probably like 4.3 flat with like elite change of direction quickness ability, right? And Milroe's not nearly as quick and shifty as Lamar is. I mean, think about some of those runs we saw early on in Lamar's career. 360s, breaking ankles, doing stuff like that. It was pretty unreal with what we saw.
So while not up to the level of Lamar Jackson, maybe still the best in this draft class. Number 5 is best running quarterback.
Well, that's Jalen Milroe.
Yeah.
That's Jalen Milroe. That is.
But is a guy like Riley Leonard?
He's damn good. I mean, he is. You're going to be able to
in
run
the ballpark?
All kinds of stuff here with him. But Dylan Gabriel's running was damn impressive. This is a class that was definitely more pocket passer than scrambler and do that, right? So, yeah, oddly enough, I'm going Jalen Milroe twice in a row with probably being nice and throwing on the move by giving it to him, because it's probably another area I could have gone with Cam Ward, right?
Okay, yeah.
I mean, if you look at the overall how many throws on the move, right, that are made during a game, nobody does it more than Cam Ward. He does it so much it's like you don't even notice it. Oh, he just kind of moved in the pocket and he's sliding. Oh, and he just throws it kind of as he's running this way and throws it sidearm that way. It might not be that full-out sprint all the time, but he's really damn gifted at it.
Well, maybe Shedeur Sanders pops up on C-3PO with number 6. Smartest decision-making. Is this a spot where Shedeur can get in there, or is it yet another Cam Ward?
I know. Shedeur's decision-making is certainly good. Shedeur's decision-making is so good that, one of my things with him is just it was a little too conservative, right? But as far as, overall not putting your team in a bad spot, doing something stupid to put them behind, and which is, I think, a way he had to play a little bit because he realized the rest of the team wasn't great. I'm sure that's what his dad was telling him in his ear, and some of the other coaches, hey, we're not good enough to overcome turnovers and do stuff like that. Our defense, we're lucky if we win today in a shootout. If you turn it over, we're going to be in trouble, right? So I do think part of that was the way he played. Tyler Shough, of course, is a really good decision maker as well. He'd be one that you'd throw in that. Jaxson Dart is certainly not going to throw anything away from him there in that department. But, this is one where I do think it's Shedeur. I do. Shedeur's decision making, I have no problem. He's a quick processor, gets it out quick, right? Oddly enough, I don't have Shedeur. I know this is the first one. Shedeur is probably towards the top in all of these. He just hasn't been the top guy, right? And again, sometimes you're not the top guy in any way. You're just good at everything. That's a good thing. But yeah, and Pete's going, that's the scouting report on him a little bit. It is, yeah. It definitely is. I think some people just go, hey, he does everything good. What's the great thing, right? And I understand that talk totally. But yeah, I'll go smartest decision making, Shedeur Sanders. Yeah, I like that one. I think I'm good with that.
But hard to separate the few quarterbacks there.
Yeah, because Shough is very good. He does a lot of good stuff on that side of the ball. Like I said, Quinn Ewers, you get to see him process a lot in the pocket. Not that it's just he's got protection. He can go through the reads and do that. There's like we talked about with Shedeur, there's some games where you can go, he never got protected long enough to go to the third read other than 3 or 4 pass plays the whole game. And that's where it's a little unfair with him in that department sometimes.
Well, this one might be hard to separate the quarterbacks because I believe when we were going through them, they were all 6'2", 220.
Yeah.
Almost all of these quarterbacks are the same size. So 7 is most ideal size.
The ideal size, Shough is really kind of the biggest guy, right? Shough is what, 6'5", if I remember correctly? Right around there?
He is 6'5", 220. Yeah,
6'5",
so he's got a couple inches on all of them, basically.
Good size.
Yeah.
But
is that necessarily better?
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean that. It doesn't. No, I mean, the pure best body is Jalen Milroe. I mean, nobody's got a better body than Jalen Milroe. I mean, he's built like he's a running back in the NFL. I mean, that's rare to have.
You know what's funny? It's he's 6'2", 220.
Right.
Cam Ward 6'2", 220.
Yes.
Shedeur, what's Shedeur? Is he
6'2",
6'2",
right?
210, 215.
Yep, exactly. It's very similar that way.
But you can have the same height and weight and also be built
differently. Right. Well, we've had these conversations, right? Not all 6'3", 250 is the same. That's why we were talking about, remember before the combine, I was like, that's why I like going.
Yeah.
Because it's there's difference in 6'3", 250 with all these different guys and all that.
And it's not necessarily muscular is better either, because you don't like your quarterbacks rocked up.
You don't want them rocked up. You definitely don't want that. But let's see. So
is Jalen a little rocked up?
He's pretty rocked up.
Ooh, that might be not a good thing then.
He is pretty rocked up. There's definitely, but I think ideal size, body type, all of that. I like Jalen Milroe's body.
Okay.
I do.
All right.
I think I'm going to go with it. I am.
I mean, I'm not gonna I almost said I'm not gonna yuck your yum, but that's a little weird thing to say about this situation. But I'm not gonna do that to you, because I have heard a little bit where he maybe. I think it was
too tight.
Yeah,
too
maybe he's too in
tight.
love with weight room.
Well,
right? Which is something that you have called out. Yeah, like a Will Levis in years past.
I hear it. There's definitely concern. I will say, with all these guys, all their bodies are underwhelming to me this year. Not that you need to be. I don't want you to be rocked up. Right. But I will say that I wish they were a little hardened. All of them, almost all of them. I'm dead serious.
Interesting.
Even into Cam Ward, I like Cam Ward's body a lot. But do I wish it was a little harder? Right? Again, I'm not saying I want biceps and triceps and be shredded, but there is a fine line there in finding that blend of like, wait, I have enough armor on me. I'm staying healthy and strong and doing all that. And then wanting to stay loose and flexible and pliable and have the arm be able to do everything you want that way. There is a fine line there, and I would say these guys so far are a little bit on the softer side than maybe I would like.
All right, that is 3 though. Jalen Milroe.
I know,
he is
as you're
taking
sitting
over
here,
your
right?
C-Thropio.
Damn, what's going on here?
Morphing into Jalen Milroe. Number 8 is most impressive character leadership. Now you had the benefit of talking to a lot of these guys, getting a sense of their vibe. You've heard stories of how they've related to their teammates and what their coaches thought of them, what other coaches maybe are thinking about them.
This is a tough one. I know Cam Ward's an incredible leader. I've heard it from everybody.
Yeah.
I've heard it from everybody. So that's like, he's amazing that way. Jalen Milroe in person is like phenomenal. So is Jaxson. I mean, there's nobody here in this group, and I'm being dead serious, and I've said this, it was a very impressive group as far as the way they handled themselves and how they do that. I didn't talk to Kyle McCord, right? Now, he's worked with my family, and I've never met him, but I know him, right? Or I know of him.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go with Riley Leonard here.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I'll go with someone off the board.
I like that.
All right. I'll go with Riley Leonard. Riley Leonard just has things in the right perspective, right? And I think when you couple that with how much the spotlight was on him this year, how much scrutiny he went under.
Sure.
He kept the positive vibes. He continued to lead the football team. He blocks out the outside noise. He said that. He doesn't pay attention to social media. He doesn't do all of that. I found his way to be pretty damn good, and I need to change up some guys here.
No, totally. And I think you can. He led his team to the national championship game. He's got definitely a different vibe. It's like a youthful, kind of like boyish vibe at times.
It definitely
it's not
is.
like
It's
that grown man.
Exactly right.
But.
Exactly right. No, it is. It's like still young schoolboyish to a degree.
Little bit, yeah.
You're right. You're just like, damn, I don't know. Has anybody told him that bad things happen in the world sometimes? I don't know if anybody's told them that yet.
Yeah, you get a little bit of that.
Right.
But his teammates really respond to him. All right, number 9 here, the one we added.
Ooh.
Right at the heart, pocket toughness and awareness.
Wow. Well, the ability to move in the pocket and do that stuff, again, would be Cam Ward. Cam Ward's so slick in his feel, his patience in the pocket. I'm going to go Shedeur here, though.
Okay, Shedeur.
Shedeur is as tough as he was playing in the pocket. That to me was impressive. It really was. His ability to make throws, constantly be under duress. I know he took some sacks and did all that. I get that. But I didn't sit there and go, like, on a lot of them, I wasn't sitting there going, oh my gosh, how stupid was that? That guy was open and he held it. And it was like so many of them were, he drops back, he looks at the first guy, he's not open. Oh, wait, he got to make a move on the second guy. And then maybe, or made a move on the pass rusher. And then, maybe right then you're like, hey, throw it away or just get it away. But he's then trying to break the second guys to make a throw and do that. He takes a sack and like stuff like that I can deal with. That to me is not like dumb sacks always, right?
Yeah.
If it was sitting there and I was going, damn, the 10-yard out route was open and he turned it down and then held the ball and got sacked, that's when you start to go, hey, that was dumb crap, right? Like, what are you doing there? That's when you start to worry about it. But I didn't have problems with that in that department. So, damn, we got a lot of Shedeur and Cam Ward and Jalen Milroe on this one.
So a couple Cam Ward and maybe the two most important ones with strongest arm, best touch accuracy, and then he's right around number one on every other
He really
metric.
is. I mean, it's tough. It is tough because, like, even again, I gave Jalen Milroe the best throwing on the move ability, but
could have been Cam.
I mean, it could have been Cam. I'm going like full out sprinting on the run type throw. Okay, I'm saying that. But if like it was, jogging, moving in the pocket, I avoid somebody and now I'm just taking a few steps together. Cam Ward is like, he's a special wheeler and dealer in that department. He really is. It's Mahomes-ish in how he can do some of that stuff.
But I like this. This illustrates that there are some characteristics with these quarterbacks. While maybe one superstar quarterback, these other guys can do things really well.
Yeah.
I like that.
No doubt. And there's some guys, again, like we talked about here too, where there might not be the slam dunk, blah, 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 but there's guys where you see futures for, there's potential for, and you go, there's a few things here about their game that I really like, and as long as they can clean up a few areas, they can be something in the NFL.
All right, Pete promises we will Photoshop this up. You'll see it on one of your social medias, maybe all of your social medias.
Right.
And you can give it a like, and you can even comment on
Cool.
it if you want to there. All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, your questions to Chris about his quarterback rankings, we will read those when we come back. Back here on Chris Sims Unbuttoned, there's the top 5. Took the internet by storm. Cam Ward, number 1. Shedeur, number 2. Jaxson Dart, there's your top 3 and your top 2 tiers. Maybe a little surprise with Kyle McCord at 3. Quinn Ewers at 5. Guys you like maybe a little bit better than the rest of the draft community.
Well, I think that, I tried to explain this because I did something with Connor Rodgers yesterday too, certainly, right? Like there might be some quarterbacks where, hey, the film might be cleaner or whatever else. And if you were going to really be like on a, let's grade it play by play, maybe these guys did better. But not so much so that it makes up for the fact that I think these guys have talent that could actually make them a starter in the NFL, right? That's the big thing. And some of those other guys we might talk about where, the film's a little more perfect or whatever else. I go, yeah, they're good, but they have no potential other than being a backup quarterback, right? Tyler Shook's the tough one there, but you'd have a hard time, and I will be shocked if we don't hear more about Kyle McCord as this process goes on. Because, again, the first year at Ohio State wasn't all that bad, right? And the second year was like they rode him at Syracuse. They were literally like, we throw the ball a ton. We're going to throw the ball 40-something times a game, and you're going to have to do it. And you see him in the pocket make a lot of game-changing, dynamic-type throws that were big. And I think, again, the game is still about making throws and plays in the pocket and doing that stuff, and he's pretty damn good at it.
All right, so we got a couple questions about Kyle McCord, so we'll get to those in a second. Let's take a couple on Cam Ward first. We just broke down all the attributes from the quarterbacks when we were in the break there. We talked about the quick release, and you think Cam Ward is number 1 in that as well. Addy M27 has a question for you.
Yeah.
Just curious as how you evaluate the quickness of a release or release speed given how everything looks so similar on tape. So how do you identify the quarterbacks who have that quick release?
Well, listen, I know it can look similar on tape. Again, maybe I'm a little too I've watched so much tape in my life, maybe it's like a second part of my life now where it doesn't look too I can see differences pretty quick.
Yeah.
But I think the best base level way to start it is, first off, usually you can just like a first few throws, curl routes, in cuts. You could just go, wait, they're getting ready to throw. How quickly does that process happen to where, he saw it and now he just tries to get it out and go? Okay, all right. But that's not always like the greatest telltale, but at least it gives you a little gauge. The big thing, and as I've told you, is wide receiver screens and RPOs. That, to me, is the one where you can tangibly look at 20, 30 plays of those type of plays and go, oh, my gosh, I can't believe how quickly Cam Ward can get it out there. Cam Ward's in the category of, Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. Caleb Williams could do it. Josh Allen a little bit. Where they can, and maybe go to the 2-shot here, guys, just down the middle, where they can do this and just, like that, right? I got the wide receiver screen. I'm going to fake the run. Get it out like that. Like the feet aren't even there. Oh, it's an RPO. Boom, like that, right? Where, Jaxson Dart might have been boom, right?
Yeah.
More of that, okay? Or Shedeur, who's got a pretty quick release, but it's there and it's still over the top and boom. Like Cam Ward could get it out like a shortstop where he was turning 2. And he could do it with like great force on the ball and accuracy. But to me, that's where you start. If you really want to start to look at the tangible ones, it's the RPOs and the wide receiver screens, because those are plays where you're being told, get it out quick, get it out quick. The quicker you get it to our guy, the quicker he has to gauge where the blockers are and he can make a move, right? You're being coached like that. And it's in your head as soon as the play is called, like, I got to get this out there quickly so our guy can run and make that happen. Yeah. That's where I would start at EM 27.
And you need it because the speed of the NFL game is faster than the speed of the college game. And if you're going to have a good first year, you got to have a good quick release, among other things. Sauce Saney says to you, can you compare Cam Ward to C.J. Stroud coming out?
Yeah.
Do you envision a similar first-year success story? So how pro-ready? Obviously, we didn't see many quarterbacks have a year like C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, that's a special year. I mean, C.J. Stroud and Jaden Daniels are it up for every rookie quarterback in the history of the world coming in, okay? Yeah. They really are. Yeah. I mean, guys like Caleb Williams who have a good year now, they're like, oh, that's trash. You only went 23 with 10 interceptions? What a trashy year you had, right? And like 5 years ago, we'd have been like, what a good year, a rookie year for that guy, right? Like
every rookie quarterback struggles.
Yeah, right.
Like, well, not everyone.
Not every. I certainly think Cam Ward is ready for NFL football. I think he can run any system. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I see he reads coverages, processes, throws the appropriate footballs all the time. He's different from C.J. Stroud in that Stroud was an absolute pocket machine. Stroud was a absolute machine with mechanics. Cam's a little more got the Mahomes and Caleb Williams a little bit to him where – it's not always a machine that way. Mm-hmm. He is going to color outside the lines every now and then and play that way. C.J. Stroud was like by the book if you want to teach a young kid. It was very much like Joe Burrow, where I'd go, hey, young kid, you want to learn how to play the position and throw strikes every time? Watch C.J. Stroud. He does it the same way all the time. Quick decisions, body's in the right spot, boom, accurate throw, boom, accurate throw, boom, accurate throw, right? Cam Ward would be a little bit more like the young kids. I'd go, don't do that yet. You're not good enough at that yet.
Yeah.
Let's just be normal before we start to do hop and throw the ball sidearm out into the flat or something like that, right? That's where they're different, but I can certainly see him having success. The big thing is going to be, can the team around him help him have that success like we saw Jaden Daniels and C.J. Stroud have around them?
I mean, rookie C.J. Stroud is making life tough for rookies everywhere. You know who else he's making life tough for? Yeah. Second-year C.J. Stroud. It was just like, what happened? Where was that guy?
Right, seriously.
It's just like, why did I have to be so good that
first year? A good year, won another playoff game, but it was looked at as a downturn to his career there.
Your number 2 quarterback is Shedeur Sanders. Got a couple questions about him. Nicholas Braxton says to you, I know on our show you mentioned Geno Smith as a comp for Shedeur, but the players I think of is Chiefs Alex Smith, Teddy Bridgewater, but with a better arm, and Tua Tagovailoa. Do you see some of this on his film?
Geno for sure. I can see Geno. And I will say, I don't know if his arm was even as gifted as Geno's. Geno's arm, as you've heard me say a lot here, is way better than I think people ever really gave it credit for or realized, right? But that's the one I see. I can see the Alex Smith thing a little bit too, and the way in which they throw the football, right? Alex Smith was one of those guys that was a little bit over the top. It wasn't the around motion type that way. Mm-hmm. I think he plays a little bigger in the pocket than Alex Smith, but he can't run like Alex Smith. Don't forget, Alex Smith can really run. And I think he's clearly a better thrower than Teddy Bridgewater. And just a bigger human, plays bigger that way altogether. So, that's more where I see that. Shedeur, again, where he's different to me than Tua, and even that comparison, and this is where I like Geno, plays big, can throw big throws down the field with the pocket collapsing and doesn't need a lot of effort, right? Mm-hmm. Those are the things you would hear me complain about with Tua a little bit in times. That, to me, is where I like Shedeur. And as you know, that's life in the NFL. Things collapse. You got to make a lot of throws where it's like, oh, it's uncomfortable and I can't get my whole body into this. But the coach is still going to look at me and go, they weren't hitting you yet. The guy's open. Why didn't you throw it? And you want to be like, well, Reggie White was like right by my arm, and I had this guy. Like it was, I don't care. He's open, and they weren't hitting you yet. So freaking throw it,
Yeah.
right? And that's really where it's gotten, and you got to come through in those type of situations.
Here's a question about value. I like this one, draft value. Kevin MC 411. Can you explain to me, why Shedeur is considered a bad pick at 3, but an okay pick at 20 for a team like the Giants in desperate need of a quarterback and picking at 3? I don't understand that. George Young took your dad higher than some thought because that's where he was picking.
Yeah, listen, they're valid points. And I've made this clear before, too. Like, listen, if you believe he's your guy and that's your guy, I'm never going to be mad at you for taking a guy you believe in that you think is going to build your football team, right? But there's also, and this, this plays into our contracts with the quarterbacks and all that at times, but there's also value as far as where the draft is and what you can get, and if you play it the right way, you can maximize things to make your team better. And I think there's that game there that you got to play that a little bit. You hope to. So, yeah, my point is that I wouldn't want to take him at 3, right? The top 5 quarterbacks to me are like, they can carry a team, game-changing type guys, no doubt about it. Shedeur Sanders is really good. I don't know if I think he's that, right? Right? And that's where I say that. And, I guess, too, on top of that, there's not a ton of teams that are quarterback needy here in the first round to where this is a year where, if you want to maximize value and things like that and build your team, I feel like there are angles. If you read the board and you start to play the game a little bit about like, hey, this team takes this team, this team takes this team. Oh, this team maybe needs a quarterback, but okay, they pass over the quarterback. You could start to certainly look at it, and you wouldn't be crazy to go, well, I could certainly see Shedeur still being on the board at 15. It's not that far-fetched. You get past like 1 or 2 teams, and you go, oh, damn, he might be down there, right? So that's all I'm saying. I'm just saying in my general thought, I wouldn't want to take him at 3 or 6, just like I didn't want everybody to take Daniel Jones at number 6. And guess who was right? Yeah, we could have traded down and taken him later, or not taking him at all, whatever. Right? I just don't want us to reach that way. But if they have a grade on him that's that worthy and they think he's the guy going forward, I won't be mad. I won't be mad at that.
Well, all these players have a risk profile.
But
right?
I'm sick of one more thing, because I'm sick of everybody saying this stuff about like, well, if you like your guy or the value, or the market for the quarterbacks is this. Yeah, and it's up. Like, I want to go to the market thing and the quarterbacks thing, because I've had a few people go, well, the market right now is just that. And I'm going to go, well, then that's why your team won't be in the Super Bowl. That's why you won't. Because you're putting your guy in a market with Mahomes, and yet he's not Mahomes. And then when you play the Chiefs, you're going to tell me, they got Mahomes. And I'm going to go, well, you're paying your quarterback just like him. So why aren't you getting those results? I don't understand. Oh, well, that's the market for the quarterback. I'm so sick of hearing people tell me that shit. I'm so sick of it. Oh, well, we couldn't have the team. Well, yeah, because you paid your quarterback out of the market. That's why. Like, so yeah, you couldn't fill in the other pieces because you had to worry about the public pressure and the agent who boxed you into a corner that says it doesn't look cool if you don't pay the quarterback a lot of money. That's what we've gotten. The same thing with the draft too, a little bit. There is that, and I guess that was my spiel.
Did this become a Brock Purdy discussion?
No, it's a lot. It's not about the Brock Purdy one. It's just people I've heard on TV, radio, whatever. That's been a little bit of the anti-argument to what I've been saying, right? And I just, I hear it and I want to go, yeah, but that doesn't make any sense. And it's a league where we always talk about value, and all of a sudden there's quarterback, we're going to go, the value.
Pay whatever.
Here's the market, pay whatever. And that doesn't make sense with anything else that you line up in the league.
I'll say this with the draft and the risk profiles on all these guys. As you go on in the draft, there's a higher likelihood, there's more of a risk that this guy won't pan out, right?
Yeah.
He's not quite as good as we think he is, or he's not NFL quality. And so you don't want to take those guys at 3, right? I mean, so that's, I think, at the end of the day, it's
Say that again. You don't want to what?
You don't want to take guys that have a high risk profile higher in the draft.
Exactly
just,
right.
There's a higher chance this guy actually won't be very good. Yeah. And so we'd rather not take that right now. We'd rather take someone who we have more confidence in being good. And Shedeur Sanders at this point is being evaluated as a guy who, while good, is not slam dunk. He's going to change your franchise.
Superstar.
There may be some limitations here.
Exactly.
Where if you take him number 3 overall, you've wasted that number.
That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. But I think what Kevin MC411 is, it's a good discussion. Mm-hmm. And I've had these discussions with, like, hey, your Detroit Lions probably went through this a few years ago with Jahmyr Gibbs. Oh, don't take a running back that high. Oh. They were like, no, we believe in him. We think he's the man. We don't really give a shit if it's 5 spots far. We're going to do that. And I'm never going to be mad at the team to do that. I won't be mad at the Giants if they take him at 3 or 6. Right? I'm just saying if I was a GM, I wouldn't do that. And I don't think I said it was a bad pick. I hope he's not trying to put me into the quote there as a bad pick. I certainly didn't say that. I'm just saying I wouldn't want to take him at 3 or 6.
Yep.
And if they can maximize, like we say, trade down, get a few extra picks, do that, and hopefully still get Shedeur, then I'd be all on board for that.
We got a question here from Mark Floyd. Which quarterback is most dependent on the system in which they land? And he asks us specifically about Jaxson Dart, your number 3 guy. Sounds like a guy like Dart with the Rams, like system, would be most ideal for his career.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you there. I think he is
a system quarterback.
And again, it's not about system. It's just that he's not a guy that's going to make a ton of off-schedule plays. That's not what he is. Mm-hmm. The greatness of him is that you see him go through progressions and that he sees the field well, and he can process all that really well, and then usually put the ball in a spot, in all those throws from 5 to 25 yards right where you want it. Right, so that's where he is good in that department as far as maybe being dependent on that. Mm-hmm. I think Shedeur is going to be a great executor of a system too. He is. And again, I'm not trying to say they're system quarterbacks. I'm just saying that's when they're going to operate at their best, right? That to me is what they want to do. And like we said with Shedeur, that's the reason Tom Brady's his idol. He wants to play that style of football, right? But Shedeur has the ability, again, where big in the pocket, can make people miss in the pocket, can run a little bit better than Jaxson Dart and do all that to where, I think Jaxson Dart is a little bit more of a, the system guy. And that's what he's going to be loved by. It's going to be loved by a little bit like it was with Kenny Pickett that year, where I would tell and have conversations with coaches like, I don't love his talent. But they'd be like, but of all the other quarterbacks, he's the only guy that we can find that like consistently goes on a drive where we can go, hey, look, that's like an NFL quarterback, right? So I understand that. I do, right? So you just got to balance all that stuff with talent, and that's where it gets tough.
There are a number of offensive head coaches who love quarterbacks who just run the play, run the system.
Run the play.
Your friend being one of them.
I know. Run the play. They run the play. They do the system good. And then I hear them play a quarterback that does a little backyard football, and they go, man, this guy's unbelievable. You can't stop it. You don't know what to do. And I would go, well, like, why don't you get one of those guys? Why don't you can get one of those guys? I like my system. Right? And I want to be like, some of these guys that they are backyard football guys, they could play in a system and do the other thing. They can do both. Like, it's not that. And I think sometimes the system guys get too obsessed with that stuff.
You checked the rule book.
I checked the rule book. They are allowed. Like, I've seen Josh Allen run the system, right? He can do it. Yeah. He does it all right.
All right, we'll take one more break. When we come back, more questions from the homies right after this. Welcome back to Chris Sims Unbuttoned, still celebrating quarterback ranking week. We got a lot of questions from the homies.
A lot of questions, like ones where I'm looking at some of them right now going, damn, that's a good question. We can't get to them all. I feel bad, really.
Smart listeners, smart viewers as well. We make you do a lot of work. We make you rank a lot of guys.
Yes,
we make you look at a lot of film.
Yeah, you're a real
but every
asshole.
once in a while, the homies try to help out because we don't necessarily hold your feet to the fire on getting a comp for all these guys.
Right.
So that's a popular thing to do. It's very difficult, too, because you're like, he's like this, but not as fast. Maybe can't catch as well. And it's like, by that point.
It gets tiring sometimes. It gets tired. Or sometimes I'm like, wait, this guy reminds me of somebody, and who is it?
Yeah.
And I'm going back looking through things, and all of a sudden I look up and I go, I've been wasting 25 minutes trying to find the player comp for this guy.
Yeah.
The hell with that. Let me move on.
So you know what?
Right?
We'll make the homies do it.
Okay.
And Z-Horn1 has stepped up for you. So he's got comps for these quarterbacks. See if you agree with some of these.
Okay, I like it.
His quarterback comps for the 2025 class. He goes Cam Ward. He goes C.J. Stroud. In what ways is he right? In what ways is he wrong?
Well, elite throwers, right? Totally. Yeah. Like I said with C.J. Stroud a minute ago, C.J. Stroud is like so by the book, right? I would teach my kid to do what he does, right? It's so perfect, and the mechanics are great, and it's the same consistent accuracy and throw one after another. Ward's a little different, and like I said before, it's Mahomesy, it's Caleb Williamsy, it's Another one I would throw out there, Matthew Stafford. Okay,
interesting.
it's that type of guy. Again, like I'm standing here and I can just flick it, and I can sidearm it between the guard and the tackle with my feet in the wrong spots, stuff like that. So I feel like it's a little different than C.J. Stroud. Both awesome. I get that. But see, like Stroud to me, as I said, was like more Burrow. I think that's the guy I made him do the comparison to when he came out. I thought C.J. Stroud was more Joe Burrow than the Mahomes, Allen, Lamar Jackson type of like throwing the ball all different types of ways, right?
So Z-Horn, you missed the mark a little bit right there, and I think maybe with this next one you missed the mark by even more. He goes, Shedeur Sanders, big Kyler Murray.
I like that.
The big Kyler
I like
Murray.
that. Okay. Yep. I don't. I don't know if I see that one either.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a different motion. It's a different style. Kyler Murray's rare, so it's hard to find any comparisons.
He's a unicorn. Very hard to ever him to be a comp with anyone.
It is exactly right.
How about the next one there, Jaxson Dart?
Well,
with
him, but first off, with Shedeur, he's a little more. I've said Geno Smith,
Yes.
right? A lesser C.J. Stroud. Okay, it's of that. Remember C.J. Stroud he doesn't scramble enough. He can't run enough.
Yeah,
right.
Except for the final game against Georgia.
Yeah,
in the
where he
playoffs.
ran everywhere, like on that day, right? But he
Like
can
maybe
do
he
that,
can.
and Shedeur has some of that in him as well. So yeah, that would Geno and Stroud are similar to me as far as comparisons for Shedeur Sanders.
Jaxson Dart, Daniel Jones.
A little. Not sure if I totally feel that one either. Right? Daniel Jones,
We might need to get Z-Horn back in the lab.
Daniel Jones, such a big, strong, like RoboCop type of guy, right? I'm trying to look through teams right now as I'm going through it, going, is there anybody here that makes sense for me for Blaine Gabbert? All right, I want to do that. Jaxson Dart. He comes out as Blaine Gabbert in my head a lot. I don't know.
Gabbert.
There's a similar look, right? Now it's Blaine Gabbert was drafted a little too high, obviously.
Where's Blaine Gabbert from?
Blaine Gabbert was Missouri.
He's
He went
born
to
in Missouri. He's not even a California guy like you thought Jaxson Dart was, so you can't make that excuse.
I don't know if there's anybody in the NFL right now that pops to me. Jaxson
That's
Dart.
all right. We're not going to make you do this.
Right?
We
I
made
would have been
Z-Horn
more
do
like
this
a Drew
exercise.
Lock. Okay,
Sure.
second round pick, right? Has a chance to be a starter. Drew Lock's arm was physically better. Blaine Gabbert. Jaxson Dart plays quarterback better. Okay, so that would be more the one I would think of here.
All right, we'll rip through these other. Kyle McCord, Ritter without the legs.
Oh, well, Ritter,
Ouch.
come on. Ritter couldn't throw the football. Kyle
Dang.
McCord's a high-level thrower of the football. Again, they went 9-3, and he threw for almost 40 touchdowns. And they weren't known for running or playing defense, so give it a little credit here. Come on. That's definitely not. Now, I don't know who you've heard me with McCord. He needs to be better at moving, right? He's a little too robotical that way. His style reminds me of Jay Cutler, right? But he's not Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler's special, so I'm certainly not trying to say that.
Yeah.
Maybe in similar theory, even a Dak Prescott, maybe just big, stand in there, make throws down the field. I don't think he's as athletic as Dak Prescott either, but again, I'm just trying to throw out things here that I think make sense, or at least in the general area of what we're talking about here.
Z-Horn's going to be like, all right, move on, guys. Enough. All
No,
right,
hey, we're not done eviscerating yet. Z-Horn, you wanted to enter this fire? You're in this fire.
He's like, I now regret
and you
it.
are a homie, and this is
You
how
are.
homies talk to each
This is
other.
how you're initiated. Quinn Ewers, Baker Mayfield. Any similarities?
Gunslinger.
Yeah, I can see
right?
that.
Gifted arm. But this is again too where I know I've had some people at me like, man, you put Kyle McCord over Quinn Ewers. I've had a lot of that, right? This is where Ewers has to step up his game in that department. Baker Mayfield threw the howitzer every throw. It's still every time. Let me throw it as hard as I freaking can, right? That's where Quinn Ewers has to change a little bit. He's got, I think, some of that in him, that gunslinger, big-time arm for sure, right? But he's always kind of throwing that off-speed pitch, and that like we talked about, that's going to have to change in the NFL.
NFL.com threw out a Sam Howell comparison to Quinn Ewers.
I could see that too. They're not exactly similar in style all the way, but, can easily push the ball down the field, right? It's got easy power in the arm. I'm trying to see if anybody else is in there. Ewers at times can kind of remind me of Kirk Cousins as well. okay? And especially with that floppy arm and the motion and all that, maybe not quite the absolute surgeon Kirk Cousins is, but the way he plays and the style he throws reminds me of him a little bit.
Tyler Shuck, Will Levis.
Huh.
Oh, boy.
It's not like the worst, but yeah, it's like Tyler Shuck's just not ripped up, and
no, he's not.
He's actually a little bit more of a loose, natural quarterback to me than Will Levis.
Let me throw one here.
Yeah.
Mike Glennon.
Oh,
You like Mike Glennon?
Mike Glennon for Tyler Shuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like that one, actually. That's a very good one, actually.
Thank you.
Very similar. Very similar. Yeah. And Shuck, I know, is going to be liked by the NFL. Again, he's going to be another one of those guys that people are going to go, hey, look, I see it. I see him going on drive consistently, good decisions, good throws. He's going to like that. But he is one of those guys, again, where I like that, but I would go, his talent and high end is not that of Quinn Ewers or Kyle McCord, and that's why I take them above him.
Jalen Milroe, a cross between Lamar and Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, I see that. I'd probably go more Anthony Richardson as of right now. His raw project, right? Is it more athlete who's quarterback or quarterback who's athlete? And right now I would say it's more athlete that's quarterback, and that's the same for Anthony Richardson. I argued with Lamar, and crazily at the time when I was working at Bleacher Report and would make videos, and that was when Bill Polian came out and said he should play receiver, that's where I flipped my lid. And I was like, are you kidding me? Lamar Jackson's a quarterback. Like, there's no doubt about that. He's a special quarterback, and I don't know, still he's getting quite the credit he deserves in that department.
And finally, Z-Horn won. Riley Leonard, college quarterback, not a Riley Leonard
You're
fan.
funny.
Z-Horn.
You're funny.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, how disrespectful he is.
Yeah, we got a leader, and
But,
you like him better than just your average college quarterback.
Yeah, I do. I like the makeup of the guy, the makeup of the athlete, the size of the athlete, all of that. Those are all what I like. And like I told you too, the throwing, it has potential. It needs work. And he's got to work on all of that. But his good is damn good, and he showed me the ability to improve just from the end of the season into the combine. So, yeah, he's a guy that, it's going to take a little time here for sure. But I do see something in him that I really do like.
Lobster Craven.
Lobster Craven.
Tweets at you or posts to you or blue skies to you. A little off topic, but I think the Pats' Joe Milton is available. Where do you think he would go if he was in this year's draft? I say late first round or somewhere in the second. Now, he was a 6th round pick last year, 193 overall. Did play one game. It was against Buffalo.
Well, Lobster Craven, I love you,
yards.
right? But why would you think if he was 193rd pick last year that all of a sudden just because of this year the class isn't good, like people are just going to go, hey, forget about those other 172 guys that went before him last year. Jalen Milroe would be in the conversation. I mean, not Jalen Milroe. Joe Milton would be in the conversation for a first rounder. No, that's a little drastic. But off of that, okay, Joe Milton being available, I heard is the thing. I have. But Joe Milton's, he's a scary backup. He's the one that confuses the team. This is the reason people won't like him as a backup. Because he's going to have days where he's going to look better than the starter. And we know that happened a little at the training camp last year. There was a lot of buzz about Joe Milton, and there was days where people were like, hey, Joe Milton's better than the number 3 pick of the draft and all of that. Let alone, I think Joe Milton's a little boisterous and thinks he's the man too, and kind of lets that be known up there in New England. So I wouldn't be shocked if there was a market or somebody. He's the type of guy that I would love to have, and you stash him away and you go, let's see if we can work with him, and maybe in a year or two he can be something for us. He has that type of talent, right? This, to me, again, is what I would say with a guy like Milroe, maybe to a lesser extent of this, right? Where you see a lot of high end, but it's also raw, right? And Riley Leonard, I think, is also like that too, right? Maybe that's even more of a similar one because Milroe will go before the 193rd pick. But I would not be shocked if we saw him move at some point here.
Trade him to the Colts, your rival. Have him compete with Anthony Richardson. I would love to see what would happen there. Milton comes in talking a big game. See how much Anthony really wants the job.
Oh, yeah. Or it's just teams who don't know where they're going right now. overall? Like if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers and I'm going, I don't know what's going to happen at quarterback over the next few years. We're in a spot.
He was a 6th-round pick last year. Would you give up a 5th-round pick this year?
Yeah, or a
4th
6th round. Obviously, if he's on the market, you could probably mid 6th or 7th. You guys don't want him? He's an issue? Okay, fine. Give him away. You're putting him out there. You just drafted him, so you obviously don't want him, right? You might be able to get it for really cheap, and you take a flyer on him and see if you can, make him mature and become a better quarterback.
Interesting discussion. We'll see how that turns out, as we do with everything else that happens in this world.
Yeah.
2 more questions here. Looking ahead, I asked you a little bit about this. You've barely gotten through the 2025 quarterback draft class. You have not begun to touch the 2026, but we do have a question from Sober Wrestling. Is the feeling around the league that the 2026 quarterback class is deeper with higher-end talent? So we mentioned some of the names before. Arch Manning. You got Drew Aller from Penn State. Some other names, too. Garrett Nussmeier, LSU.
I like him a lot.
You did like at times.
I do.
Came back to school.
He has first-round talent.
Okay, interesting. So a guy to watch next year in the college season in the SEC, as is for Tennessee, Nico Iamaleava.
Sure, right.
And they have Cade Klubnik from Clemson. So those are some of the names that are on the early radar. But have you had any discussions with anyone on looking 2 years down the road?
No, I have not yet. And I can't give you a good answer there altogether, right? Drew Aller got better last year, certainly. Right. I know I heard people at the end of the year like Drew Aller might be a top 5 pick. And I want to be like, no, he's not there yet. But hopefully he can continue to get better because I think there are some things there that are worthy of first-round pick-ish, definitely. Right, some of those other guys, I'm intrigued to see what they do. One guy, too, that caught my eye during the college year, and he transferred, and I'm not even sure where he transferred from because I'm all NFL, is the quarterback from Washington State. John Mateer. Remember him?
Yeah.
Mateer had crazy
totally
talent.
Sure
I think that would make sense. Oklahoma always seems to get a guy like that. He had crazy talent.
Oklahoma.
It was a little raw. And I don't know if you remember me coming on the college. Remember that when we had them early in the year?
The Apple Cup. We had Washington
and I was
State.
like, hey, this guy's freaky talented. Now, he might miss the side of the barn on a throw here or there, but, it's crazy. He caught my eye. I'll be interested to see what he does in Oklahoma, right? Because he was special. And then you brought up Arch Manning, and I know we have another question about Arch Manning.
49er701 says, I know this is an extra question, but there's a lot of hype on Arch Manning right now. Does his play match the hype, or is it only because he's a Manning?
No, I think it does. He's shown me enough to show he's worthy of being that guy. I mean, he's got to continue to play and be better and do it on a consistent basis. But, just from the basics of look, right, the way the ball comes out of his hand, and then, of course, the athleticism, those are 3 things that you'd go, oh, man, looks like there's some stuff there to work with. Let alone when you talk to people down there, everything else matches up that he's awesome too. So, I mean, no, this is, hey, there's going to be extra hype around him. It's Manning, it's Texas, of course, all of that. But I think it's pretty legit, and I think he certainly has a chance to be that type of guy.
That is your quarterback discussion pod.
Oh, yeah.
All that's left to do is rank a ton of more guys. The guys that these quarterbacks
done
will be
with wide
throwing
receivers,
to.
done with running backs, done with tight ends. I'm feeling good.
Wow. Okay. Offensive side of the ball, except for offensive line.
I'm not stressed. Yes. It's the first time in about 4 years I feel like I'm actually ahead of schedule and not going into every day if I don't watch 10 guys today, I am going to be screwed. Right. So I'm feeling good about where I am right now.
All right.
Yeah. Definitely am. Wide receiver ranked coming Monday.
Ooh.
Gonna be an interesting one. I'm just telling you, it's gonna be an interesting one. It is. I don't even know how I got them ranked yet, but I know this, and I'll say this one right now, just a little precursor, a little tease. Some of the guys that everybody's talking about at the very top at receiver, I like Travis Hunter. Don't get me wrong, I like him a lot, but some of the other names that are up there, there's going to be some guys that are going to challenge that. They're not so slam dunk that good that I'm going, oh, yeah, look at that guy. Oh, definitely top 20 pick. Blah, blah. No way. Absolutely not. This is going to be an interesting discussion on Monday. And I'm going to have to go back again on the weekend, and it's going to be a tough ranking, really. It is, because it's some nitpicky stuff that I got to get through here. But I do think there's some guys that are down the line that are going to challenge these so-called in-the-books top receiver guys that everybody's been talking about forever, and we'll have those discussions Monday. I hope everybody looks forward to that. You know what? Keep sending the questions. I love the questions today. I'm sorry I didn't even get to all of them. A lot of good stuff. I can tell you guys are watching the pod learning some football because you're starting to challenge me on some of my own thoughts. Ahmed, thanks as always for driving the ship. You the man. Try to dye some of your hair. You look a little old. All right, a little old. All right. Everybody be good. Enjoy the weekend. Be safe out there. NCAA tournament. I'll be watching. Fill out your brackets. Get it ready. Be safe. Be cool. Peace out, homies. Clap it up.
Clap it up.
Thanks for watching Chris Sims Unbuttoned. Hey, just because the season's over, it doesn't mean we're over. We ain't going anywhere. The NFL never dies.
We're staying right here. Hit subscribe. We got every NFL move. We'll react to that. Plus, Chris has got 4,719 draft prospect profiles to do.
Thanks again for watching. Subscribe. You know where to find us. Peace out, homies.